is a struggle for those lower capacity things that we have now, because we can't hold as many at the same time. But I hope that students can take from that, this is my time to get my advising done. I'll go to them after I take that extra step to get it done for myself. I hope that those students who are having a struggle aren't just relying on their advisor. Hopefully they're taking the time to look at it and look into it themselves. And that's what I'd recommend to anyone who may have a problem. Maybe take that extra step to look for it as a student.
Well, we're trying to continue to beef up the PAR report so you can really see where you're doing, you know, how you're doing, the planner, the GPA calculator. We're trying to make those as user-friendly as possible so you can kind of test out things as you need.
Well, thank you. And thank you again for coming this afternoon. We always enjoy to hear from you, and we're excited to see you again next month.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All righty. So that was awesome, guys. As you guys heard, she'll try to check in with us as many times throughout the semester as she can. But transitioning to another very special and important guest we have with us today. Per your guys' request a couple of weeks ago regarding speaking with some coordinators from Title IX and some of the processes that our school has right now for reporting situation-based. I reached out to the Title IX coordinator here at UT Tyler, Blake Bombard, and he is here to speak to you guys regarding some of those things. Hopefully take a couple questions about any things that he brings up. And so with that, sir, you have the floor.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate the invite to come and talk to you about the new DOE regulations and how the UT Tyler responds and processes Title IX complaints. So yeah, we do have a set of new regulations and new policies in effect. You probably saw that through some of our newsletters and things. A little context into how and why those changes came about. So Title IX is a federal law that's been in effect since 1972. And its primary purpose is to prohibit any type of sex-based discrimination at any educational institution. At its primary inception, Title IX was primarily focused on like gender equity issues, ensuring that males and females had the equal opportunity to participate in the university's programs or activities. But over the years, Title IX has been expanded from the Department of Education to address and tackle issues, first starting with sexual harassment, then expanding into sexual assault, dating, domestic violence, stalking. Any type of sexual misconduct has been folded into a Title IX response. So again, it's a federal law. It's overseen by the Department of Education, and it's enforced by the Office of Civil Rights. The way that the Department of Education would communicate with universities as to how they interpreted Title IX, what all it applied to, and the processes that they should follow in complying with Title IX was through a series of what we call Dear Colleague letters. And basically they would send us a letter. It always started out, Dear Colleague, which is how I got its nickname. And it would say, this is our interpretation of your responsibility according to this law. And we had a very significant Dear Colleague letter that came through in 2011 under the Obama administration that really took a hard stance on how universities had to respond to instances of sexual misconduct on campus. And it listed some, it was very comprehensive on the duties and responsibilities of a university. It was very broad reaching. It had a lot of universities scrambling to comply, but that was the model that we operated under for several years. In 2016, whenever we had a change in executive administration in Washington, D.C., one of the things that the new administration, the Department of Education did is they repealed that guidance that we'd been working under for the previous 5 or 6 years. And they did that for two reasons, really. One reason is they felt that the guidance from 2011 was so severe, so punitive on universities that many universities were rushing to take a hard stance in hearings and things like that, in effect denying due process rights to the accused party. So they looked at that. And then the other concern was that although this was guidance, it did not have the force of law. Universities were being punished and disciplined for not complying with guidance. So they went through the proper rulemaking authority. They put these rules under review, they revised them, made it open to public comment, and they came out with a new set of regulations that now are actual regulations. They have the full force of law. And there were some significant changes in these new regulations on how we respond to sexual misconduct on campuses. I'll go through some of those right now. One of the first things they did is they redefined they adopted a new definition of sexual harassment. They actually kind of raised the bar on what qualifies as sexual harassment under Title IX. That they changed what triggers a response from the university. So in the past, if the university had actual knowledge or constructive knowledge of an incident, that means if the university knew or should have known that something was occurring, they had an obligation and a duty to respond. They took away the constructive knowledge portion of it. They said that an institution needs to have actual knowledge that something is going on. We're not going to punish a university for what they should have known, which is a pretty subjective term. So they changed that requirement. One of the significant things that they did is they distinguished between reports and a formal complaint. So under our old guidance, anyone could file a report, and that is still our policy today. Any person can file a report. And most of the reports that we get are from third parties. It's usually not the victim that files a report. It could be a employee who has a mandatory reporting responsibility. It could be a friend, a coworker. So anyone can file a report, and all employees at the university are mandated reporters. But what it distinguished between was reports and a formal complaint. So in the past, not so much here at UT Tyler, but at other institutions, universities were quick to jump on a report and may initiate a full investigation, even if that's not what the complainant wanted, especially in third-party complaints, third-party reports. The complainant may not even have known that the victim may not have even known that the report was filed. So what the new regulations did is they distinguished between that. They said anyone can file a report, but only a victim can file a formal complaint, meaning the university is not going to move forward on a report, and they have indicated their desire to move forward on a formal complaint. And then the next thing that the new regulations did was they really put in a step-by-step process that all institutions have to follow. A lot of written notices, a lot of checks and balances to make sure that due process is being served for both parties. Another new addition to the new regulations is emergency removal of students. So in the past, if someone was accused, say, of sexual assault, the university had a lot more leeway in doing things like an interim suspension on that student while the investigation was ongoing. As part of their due process review of the regulations, they've made it more difficult to do so. We cannot take any punitive measures or disciplinary measures against someone accused of misconduct until the course has run its course and they've been found responsible through the appropriate hearing officer. There is one exception, and that's an emergency removal section. And that's if we determine that there is an immediate, and it has to be an immediate threat to the physical health or safety of another student or someone else that would justify us removing that person from the educational opportunities of the university. And that whoever is removed must have an immediate right to appeal that decision. So they put in some emergency removal restrictions there. Another thing they did is they mandated times when we must dismiss a case and times when we may dismiss a case. So there are times when we must mandatorily dismiss a formal complaint if it does not meet the jurisdictional framework under the new Title IX guidelines. The most significant one to this is conduct alleged. The conduct alleged does not occur in the institution's educational program or activity. I'll give you an example. We have an off-campus assault at the off-campus apartment between two students. In the past, that would be processed as a Title IX complaint. Because that off-campus activity is not part of the educational program or activity of the university, that type of conduct would no longer be considered Title IX. So that would require a mandatory dismissal under our Title IX processes. There are some discretionary dismissals that we may do. If the complainant withdraws their complaint, if the respondent is no longer enrolled or employed with the university, or there are other specific circumstances, there are times when we can do a discretionary dismissal. So really, what does that mean? So what does that mean for all those cases that in the past met Title IX, and under the new regulations, they don't meet the definition of Title IX? Do the victims in those cases still have an opportunity for some sort of relief recourse from the university? And the answer is yes. To the victim, the process is not going to look any different than under the old process, because we've built into our policies alternative grievance processes to deal with issues that do not meet the new Title IX regulations. So if a case came in, for example, that off-campus sexual assault between two students in an off-campus apartment, we would have to say, under Title IX, we are dismissing this. However, the university and the Title IX office will still investigate and hold responsible under our student code of conduct process. So we would be looking at a conduct violation, a university policy violation. But as far as the thoroughness of the investigation, the resources, everything that you would normally get in a Title IX process, you would get under this alternative grievance process. The only difference is technically it's not under Title IX. And then the last thing that the new regulations added was the requirement for live hearings under Title IX. So anytime a formal complaint is filed and it goes through an investigation, it must go to a live hearing. And what that means is both parties must be present. It doesn't have to be in person. It could be Zoom or however we can make both parties most comfortable, but you do have to do a live in-time hearing. And at that hearing, the representatives or the advisors of each party must be given the opportunity to question and cross-examine the other party. So in their search for to ensure due process rights of the parties, cross-examination was one of the key elements of arriving at the truth, according to the Department of Education. So we have that new cross-examination and live hearing requirement under Title IX. So those are pretty much the changes to the process, and I'd be happy to take any questions or explain kind of our process or any questions you have about that.
Could you clarify a little bit more on the jurisdiction of what's considered Title IX and what isn't? I know you said the words you used were academic, and I'm forgetting the other one, but does that still include everything within the Clery Act zone, like everything on campus, including on-campus housing?
Yes. So anything that occurs on university property is considered to occur within a university's program or jurisdiction. So even if it were two people that came onto campus, it would be considered Title IX. If it were guests on campus, it would be considered Title IX. As long as they're on university property, that is considered within the educational program or activity of the university. So for jurisdictional to fall under Title IX, it has to meet the sexual harassment definition. It has to occur within the educational program or activity of the university. And it has to occur against a person in the United States. That's a new thing that they added. So that has some implications for those that are on study abroad programs. And the complainant must be participating in or attempting to participate in the institution. So the complainant has to be affiliated with the institution in some way. So those four things have to be met for it to fall under the jurisdictional framework of Title IX.
When you say study abroad, does that mean where the student is in a different country, or if you have a student from a different country in the U.S.?
If we had one of our students in England, for example, say we sent a study abroad group for a week to England, and we had sexual misconduct between two of our students while they were abroad, it would not be covered under Title IX. It would still be covered under our student code of conduct, but it wouldn't be a Title IX issue.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What if somebody thinks that it is sexual harassment or whatever, but it doesn't meet the definition?
If it doesn't meet the definition, it would still meet the definition of harassment under our student code of conduct. Mm-hmm. Because our student code of conduct does not have the geographical limitations, or it doesn't have this jurisdictional framework limitations that the Title IX regs have. So they would still make the report, and it would still be investigated and processed in exactly the same way. The only difference is it's not technically under Title IX. We wouldn't be finding them if they were found in violation. They wouldn't be found in violation of Title IX, violating Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. They'd be found responsible for violating Student Code of Conduct, Chapter 804 or something like that. So.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody have any more questions?
When someone violates the Student Code of Conduct and not Title IX, what punitive actions do you have available for those violators, I guess?
Yeah, so the range of possible sanctions in a Title IX case are the same as the range of sanctions in a Student Code of Conduct case. So it varies from case to case depending on the severity, but it could, range anywhere from, depending on if this was harassment, say an improper sexual joke. There might be some sort of educational opportunity sanction or a reflection paper type sanction. But if it was more severe sexual harassment or sexual assault, any type of violence, then the sanction is the same under Title IX as in Student Code of Conduct, which is suspension and or expulsion.
Question.
Taylor, you go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I was just going to ask if students still have the same ability to be punished the same way. Why did they narrow the description for Title IX so much? If the punishment's still going to be the same.
The reason that they changed this definition, the definition is actually not a new definition. It's the definition that was arrived at by a Supreme Court decision many years ago in Davis versus Monroe. So as they were looking to codify this and make this a regulation, they wanted to make sure that they were using the exact same definitions that were already in law. So that's the reason they went with that definition. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So my question is, how is the Title IX process set up to where it prevents any conflict of interest with those involved? So like on the coordinating side.
Okay, so under the new regulations, I didn't cover that, but there is actually a bias and a conflict of interest provision in our new regulations that gives both parties the ability to object to those that are involved in the process. They can, if they believe that there is any conflict of interest or they believe that there is a bias on any party involved, such as the hearing officer, the Title IX investigator, or anyone else that is involved in that resolution process, they do have the right to let the coordinator know, and we will seek other folks. So we maintain a pool of people for that reason. We maintain a pool of hearing officers, advisors, and investigators so that we can avoid any type of conflict of interest. We just need to know, as soon as possible if that exists. So.
I do have a question, kind of sort of piggybacking off of what Hannah says, what Hannah asked, and that is, how would you be able to know if, say, when they're trying to change whoever is involved in the case, how would you be able to prevent someone from, say, attempting to abuse that to try to create an unfair outcome for the victim involved?
Okay, I'm sorry, I was having trouble hearing that. Can someone repeat that? Did somebody else hear that clearly?
No.
Oh, his mic has not been working lately. Maybe Adam, you want to put it in the chat if you can?
Yeah. I'll try this.
While Adam's typing, for the live hearings, are there any options now for the complainant to, like, let's say they don't want to be in any which way involved with the alleged? I know you mentioned Zoom, but were there other options to the live hearing?
There
Or
is
those now
so there is
100%
an
required?
informal resolution option. If both parties agree and would like to go that route, there is an informal resolution option that does not go to a live hearing. Now the outcome, or if we're looking for sanctions, or if the victim is looking for the accused to be sanctioned, disciplined some way, it would have to go through the live hearing process. But if there were other resolution options that they thought might work, then it could go through an informal process.
Okay.
The only time it cannot go through an informal process is when you have the case of a student who is accusing a employee. So those situations must go through a formal process. There's no informal process for that.
Is that the same for when it involves two employees?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Adam, did you get that? Is it in the chat? I don't know if I missed it.
I actually have it. He sent it to me privately because I chatted him asking him to type it in. So how would you go about preventing someone from abusing the ability to change the officer involved, to prevent someone changing the officer involved to someone in their favor in order to reach an unfair outcome?
Well, they're going to have to let us know what the reason is for bias or conflict of interest. And then ultimately, it would be my decision on whether or not I found that there's reasonable cause to believe that bias or conflict of interest exists. So they can't just say, well, I want somebody different because that person has bias, and not give any evidence or reasons why that person has bias or conflict of interest.
And then obviously students wouldn't have a choice in who the new officer is, correct?
No, generally not. They would be given the name of who it was, and if they had an objection, they could let me know what the objection was, and we could go to the next person.
Okay.
Of course, we do have a limited pool, so we couldn't, but yes, they would have the option of, they will know ahead of time and have the option to let us know if there's any potential for bias or conflict of interest.
Okay.
Blake,
thank
can
you.
I chime in as well?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity over the years to serve as a hearing officer, and the hearing officers often, if they recognize a student or are familiar with the student, they sometimes will also excuse themselves as well. So it goes to the next person. And so I think even those involved, if there's an opportunity to where there could be a bias, often they will also remove themselves.
Right. And we have a fairly diverse pool of hearing officers. We have some that are faculty, we have some that are staff. And that reason being, if it's a student against a staff member or a student against a faculty member, you could possibly see a conflict of interest there, someone looking out for another faculty member. So that's why we try and, have as diverse pool as we possibly can.
I do have a question. I know a couple of weeks ago, and my memory is not superb, so if other senators want to chime in on it, it is totally fine to do so. But we were talking about having some sort of resolution from SGA, like denouncing sexual misconduct or encouraging like reporting and stuff like that. And so I was wondering if you have any like either opinions or helpful guidance as to the best way to do that.
Well, I would welcome it. I would encourage it. We meet once or twice a year, all the system institutions with Title IX, we meet and we talk about what other institutions are doing. And as we look at programming and as we look at resources and students' response to certain issues, those statements and those programs and those resources that are both student-led, student-initiated, student-recruited, those are the most successful programs. So we would certainly welcome a statement. We would certainly welcome supporting any type of resources or program or anything that y'all wanted to put out there. And if you would like, I could poll my other institutions and see, you know, what other kinds of statements have been put out by our sister institutions and kind of, you know, let you know what other institutions are doing.
I think that would be definitely beneficial to have more information about what the rest of the system is doing.
Okay. So there was a question about the selection. Is it at random? Generally, you know, all of our hearing officers are they're volunteers, you know, and they work full time at the university. So it's usually we have a timeline. We like to get our, you know, we have a duty to both parties to present the cases and resolve them in a timely manner. So when we know that we're going to have a hearing, say, scheduled for the third week of October, generally then we will reach out to this group and say, we have this hearing scheduled. No information at that point, but you know, who could possibly be available, and then that's kind of how we narrow down our pool.
Does anybody have any other questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Over a typical school year, how many cases does UT Tyler typically have, and how long do they typically take to come to a resolution?
So over the last, I've been here 5 years, so I can give you 5 years of data that I know fairly well. Over the 5 years, report-wise, we have averaged between 30 and 40 reports. Again, distinguishing between a report and a formal complaint. So we normally receive 30 to 40 reports in a year. And those reports, a lot of them are third party. A lot of them include incidences where the person accused is not affiliated with UT Tyler. Probably a third of the cases that we receive, or a third of the reports that we receive, the person that did this, that is accused of doing this, is not a student, never been a student. But we still process those cases because regardless of whether they're a student or not a student, we still have obligations to support the students. So we provide supportive services. We can arrange counseling. We can arrange academic accommodations, safety planning, protection orders. There's all kinds of things that we can do, even if the person is not affiliated with the university. So, you know, probably a third of our cases are that type of situation. So that's about the numbers that we've been averaging the past 5 years. Of those, we typically see, I'd say between 7 to 10 that go to a formal, some sort of formal investigation, where the victim would like to proceed with the investigation. And of those, we probably see a handful that go to a actual hearing.
Okay, thank you.
The others are usually solved either through informal resolution or other means.
All right.
I did have a couple of questions as well.
Okay.
First of which being, you said that a significant portion of the cases or reports that you guys get include parties that are not affiliated with the school. Do you guys have processes in place to kind of pass those on to the proper legal channels, like the police department, so that they can be properly prosecuted if the victim does feel that that's necessary?
Yeah, so what we do in that situation, if it occurred on campus and it was a Clary crime, then we have the mandatory responsibility to PD under Clary. If it's not a Clary crime, then the option is with the victim. So we inform them of 3 things when it comes to law enforcement. They have the right to file with law enforcement, they have the right to decline to file with law enforcement, If they choose to file with law enforcement, they have the right to our office with assistance with that process. So we will be with them. So my background, I was in law enforcement prior to coming to Title IX. So working these types of cases on a higher education campus. So I'm providing them guidance and whatever they need as assistance with that process.
And then
So sorry, go ahead.
my last question was just, what kind of processes do you guys have in place to follow up with those victims after the closure of their cases to ensure that they're doing all right and to ensure that the same people or even different people don't commit the same acts again?
Okay, so that's a very good question, and that's I'd say in the time that I've been here, that's the area where we could probably do the best improvement is with the once a case is finished, what happens next semester? Are we following up? What happens the semester after that? So we've taken steps to improve that process. So we've hired a case manager that is looking at those, 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road, next semester down the road, because the trauma that comes with this, it's going to last an entire, it can last an entire academic, career. So that is a very important aspect, and that's something new that we've built into the case management position that we have.
Yeah. Sorry, I think Taylor, you have one question, and then after Taylor's done, we'll try to go ahead and move on. Any other questions we have, you guys can get to me and I can get to Blake, or just go directly to Blake after the meeting, if that's fine with everyone. So Taylor, you go ahead.
Okay, so I was just going to ask, what would happen to a student if, like, let's say something happened very early on in their college career, but then they waited and then they don't know all of the information as of days or times or things like that? Would those still be taken seriously, or would they still be credible or valid?
So there's no statute of limitations on Title IX reporting, and there's no statute of limitations on our obligation to respond once reported. And that happens quite frequently, as a matter of fact. I have a current case that's a couple of years old, 2.5 years old, happened 2.5 years ago. And there's many reasons why a victim can delay reporting, but that has no, we do not consider a delay in report to be, evidence of untruthfulness or anything like that. It's still taken as seriously. It's still investigated to the best of our abilities. Now, of course, we do have to explain to victims when a significant time has passed, it makes it more difficult for us because witnesses could have disappeared, witnesses could have forgotten things, video evidence is no longer available. So it makes the investigation tougher, but we still pursue it just as hard as we would a case that is recent.
Thank you for that answer.
Well, thank y'all so much for having me. I'd be happy to follow up with any of you individually if you have additional questions, or I'd be happy to come back at another time and give some more information. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And we're always here if you need something, and a good group of students who will help you with anything, especially with something that's so important to students and their safety. We are here to help you guys and service the Title IX office in any way we can.
Well, thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Alrighty, guys. Well, that was very fun. I hope informative for a lot of students specifically. Now, not that I remember, have we had Blake as a part of an SGA meeting since I've been a part of SGA. Now we've seen, and so that was very cool. And we've heard from Colleen a lot, and Colleen's awesome. Dr. Swain is a very valuable resource, and she is effectively, a provost is a weird word for some people who aren't as aware of what they do, but effectively over academics, and she's one who helps to helps Dr. Mimran's office and the Academics Affairs office very much. So obviously, if you guys want any more, as we were discussing, I'll put their emails below and let you guys, if you guys want to email and reach out to them with additional questions, I'll let you guys do that. So moving on, let me move my boxes out of the way because that's very weird. So my officer report for the week. I've actually been rather busy doing, I feel like I've sent thousands of emails, but I was busy doing the Be Like Swoop campaign in collaboration with Joshua's office. The student engagement office now also has additional masks. You can go and get another UT Tyler branded mask. I'll make this a requirement if you go up there for student government. You should just go ahead and post it online because that's super cool anyways. I like the hashtag Be Like Swoop campaign. So if you post it online, you get to pick the face mask that you get out of the, I think, 5 designs that the school has. Plus, it's very cool. And if you tag student government in it too, and the student engagement office and anybody, put the hashtag on there as well. Go ahead and do that because it's really fun. And you might win a cool hat or a backpack. I've already won one, so that's really fun. As far as anything else, I and the 4 other officers have gotten to speak with our incoming president from the Utah Health Science Center at Tyler, Dr. Kurt Calhoun. We got to speak with him at length of what the first 6 months of next semester will look like, or of 2021. What his expectations for the school are, what he expects and what he thinks from students. I would say mine and the other officers may share a little bit as well. I think he's going to be very dedicated to us students in general. I think he's very dedicated to academics and making sure that we take risks in the department of being here and trying different things as an institution, learning different things and being really a part of a community. It seems like he's going to be intent on finding, for me and of course Josh in the student engagement office, anyone who's been there, intent on finding traditions and being a part of this campus. That's going to be something else. He also said it's going to be very cool to be in charge of quite possibly one of the leaders in the R2 division research schools as far as NCAA schools go. So it's very cool. He's a very cool guy. Very knowledgeable. He's spent 18 years at the University of Texas Health Science Center at Tyler, and he said now he is the longest serving president of the UT system, who is just became the longest as the former 30-plus year serving El Paso president has retired. So it's going to be very cool. We're going to be led by someone who's very knowledgeable in both the higher education fields and very much in the fields of medicine, especially for those of you guys who are interested in that. I am sure he knows a lot more than I will understand ever. I'm a very naive business major. As much fun as business is, it is not the type of beaming that I know he's a part of. But that's all I have. Again, a lot of emails too. If you guys want to come and take over some of those emails for me, feel free to do that. That's totally fine with me. But other than that, I'll move on to Vice President Cooper. Ciao.
All right. The reason I'm so close to the camera is because my mic sucks, so just bear with me. So, like Josh said, we met with Dr. Calhoun. So I won't go into that, even though I wrote it down, it's fine. But Fall Patriot premiere is coming up, yay. As long as it still happens in person, hopefully, but that is Saturday, November 7th at 10 a.m. And so student government will have a booth set up there. And I signed us up this week. So anyway, that'll be really fun. And then let's see, I literally wrote down the student engagement thing about the Be Like Swoop to get another mask. And then Josh just had to talk about it. So there went basically almost the rest of my report. And then also I am writing a committee report for UT SAC, because I have a UT SAC committee meeting on Sunday. And I have to give a rundown of a very detailed rundown of UT Tyler's COVID response. So the last time we met, it was like very summarized and very just minor detail, but now it's like super in detail, talk for an hour. So anyway, writing that, in the middle of doing that, and then the rest of my report is going to be in committee reports.
Thank you, Vice President Cooper. Moving on to Secretary Stabenow.
So this week, I was actually in my office today for a committee meeting, just so I have a quiet place to be. And Josh and I started talking about midnight breakfast. As most of you know, midnight breakfast is not the most COVID safe activity we could be doing, because if you've been, you've probably seen 8 to 12 people sitting in a booth eating pancakes. So Josh and I were talking about an alternate activity out on the plaza. So between me and Hannah and Cameron for budget, we're all gonna, start working on that activity. And I have specifically been tasked, as well as with my committee, for creating a t-shirt for that. And again, we did meet Dr. Calhoun. He's super cool. Cannot wait to have him in a meeting for you guys to also meet him. And that is all until committee reports.
So I wanted to comment, thank you, Jennifer, on the event. I think we'll be doing a collaboration with the Patriot Productions, past, or formerly known as the College Activity Board, CAB. So sadly, we cannot figure out, and Advisor Neves does not think there's a safe way to conduct the midnight breakfast in a socially distant environment, especially with how things have changed in the past few weeks. So with that, we're going to try to find a new event, kind of a new tradition. I think how Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, how he has spoken with his team, a sort of light up the tower and plaza hangout type thing, because the plaza allows for a better use of social distancing than obviously the Met could. I think that's absolutely true, that unless we tell not all 400 people to come to midnight breakfast, it's hard to do it in the guidelines that the school has set up for us. So it'd be cool to see it'll be cool to see that, maybe a new tradition of some kind. That's not a bad idea. But prepackaged and things like that. And Adam, if you want to comment on those, feel free to go to one of their committees. I know it's something that specifically Vice President Cooper and Secretary Stabenow will be working on. So with that, I know a lot of people are signed up for communications and student life. So the officers have, I think Secretary Stabenow had sent out hers. The officer should, or sorry, it was Hannah. Hannah sent out hers. I saw hers and I was copied to it, and they'll be working on that very soon. So without further ado, moving on to Treasurer Long.
All right, guys. Hi. Today's been a very exciting day. Literally just came back from buying a car, my first ever big girl purchase. Exciting. Moving on beyond that, though. Sorry, I just had to talk about it. I'm excited. I haven't told anybody really yet. Secondly, Josh already touched on it, but this week, big thing, the really biggest thing that I did was just meet the new president. Like Josh said, super excited for him. I think it's gonna be really good. He has so much experience. He's a really cool guy. So yeah, I'm just really excited. If y'all ever have questions and stuff like that, you can always come to any of us, but I'd be happy to talk about it because it was a really good experience. I don't want anybody to be worried about all that stuff. Another thing, I and like a few of you also in here got invited to one of the university committees. I'm doing this student fee advisory committee, very suiting for a treasurer. So I'm excited for that because now I've done it before. I did it last year, I believe. I was just kind of like, yeah, sounds good, everything. But now I kind of have a better inside look. So I'm really excited about that. Mostly what I've spent time in my office doing is committee stuff, but a lot of email follow-ups and kind of brainstorming on how to make people's funding request works for them. So that was a lengthy process. But it's been, I'll talk more about it during my committee report, but really this week I've been able to fully go through the process of getting requests, having a hearing, and then approving them and getting through all that. So that's been really awesome for me as a treasurer to kind of see the full circle of everything. But yeah, I'll talk more about that stuff in my committee. Other than that, been good.
Thank you, Treasurer Long. And moving along, man, I need to fix this. It is no longer Parliamentarian Ray. It is Chief of Staff Ray.
I'm good with either one, honestly.
Well, we'll go with this
one thing that was already mentioned that I was planning on mentioning was the masks being available. I think somebody mentioned that. That was something I've been encouraging quite a bit. And so the masks, you can actually get duplicate masks now, so you can get extras. Do that so you don't have to wash them once a day like me. So I will talk about the rules email that I sent out in a minute. This week I did a lot of work on the Engage platform. As you can see, we used Engage to do our attendance this time. So hopefully that'll help out Secretary Savanaugh a lot. She's probably going to be the one doing that in the future. We had some help from Josh Neves during our office hour time, and he's pretty good at that stuff. So we got that set up. I can see that everybody was able to do it because all 24 of the people in attendance were able to. And there are some students that are potentially going to be joining. Once you join at the end, it might be good. I'll resend out the link, and if you became a member during the meeting, you can still attend and go ahead and count this as attendance meeting. So we did work on the email list. Me and Josh minted it. We worked on it quite a bit. So now hopefully all the emails will be working correctly. And we did meet the president, which was quite interesting. We actually went to his house and got to meet his wife and his assistant, and it was quite a different experience. So I think we were all enjoyed that. And if anybody wants to hear any more about those details and what we asked him and what we talked about and stuff, feel free to ask those. So that's it. Only thing I'll mention is in the Rules Committee, I did send out an email. So if you haven't seen my email, double check.
All right. And you guys may be wondering that strange tool he has in his hand. I don't know. I think they're calipers is what they are. And the life of an engineer right here, you guys. So I don't know what that is. So moving on to committee reports and starting with student life. Go ahead, Hannah.
So, my committee report, part of it was about the midnight breakfast not existing. So, yay, but also not yay at all. That was literally everyone's favorite event ever. So the plan right now is to do what's called SGA Light the Tower. So like they mentioned earlier, that is, we're looking for that to bring a lot of students, of course, socially distanced, but also to kind of create a new tradition, because even though we do it now just because we can't do midnight breakfast, does not mean that we can't continue to do it every year. But what it's going to be, and I'm reading from a screen on the other side, but what it's going to be is the students will vote, the student body will vote on I believe a couple different songs that the bell tower will play between 10 and 11 p.m. And then at 11, the bell tower will light up and play the school song. So yay, swoop, swoop. Everybody can sing along and love UT Tyler and create a new tradition. So yay, that'll be really fun. So that's in the works right now. Like I sent out in the committee email earlier, we're going to be working on logistics really just for that, and getting everybody involved. The only other thing that I had for committee reports is what that I mentioned a couple weeks ago is that Ashley Bill, who's the executive director of academic success, reached out to me regarding the 2020-2021 academic advising workshop series. So again, what that is, it's going to be a panel of about 5 to 6 students that will answer any questions that that people have about advising, but also give what am I trying to say? Give pointers on what academic advising is supposed to have, what and what they want it to look like, and from a student perspective. And so Ashley Bill reached out to us knowing that student government usually is involved in these sorts of things and likes to be involved on panels and answering questions. And so if anybody is interested, of course, I'll discuss this with my committee, but if anybody is interested in being on this panel, there's no specific date for it yet, but it will be held virtually. And all I know is that it's going to be on a Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. And it's only an hour long, but I guess people will Zoom into it, I assume, and watch. And I don't know if it'll be pre-approved questions or just, you know, questions galore. I don't know. But anyway, regardless, if anybody wants to get involved with that, let me know. I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Hannah. Moving on to the Communications Committee.
Okay, so this week, I'm just excited to say I had 6 people attend my committee. Thank you guys so much. That was awesome. And last week in committee, President Minhinet has charged us with finding resources on campus that are available to students and putting out information on our social media about how to access and use those resources. And this week, or last week, was Title IX. So some of you may have seen on our story today a post about what Title IX actually is, what the law says, how UT Tyler handles it, and how you would go about filing a report or complaint. And this week, Senator Lamberti is helping me out, and she is collecting information on the Counseling Center. We're going to put a highlight on the Counseling Center this week and what services they offer, how to go about making an appointment, and other options that you would have. So that is very exciting. And that's going to be happening every week until we run out of resources to report on. And if you have a suggestion for an office that you think provides a wonderful service on campus that maybe students don't know how to go about accessing, please send me an email or a text. We would love to highlight them and just make sure that all of our students know about what's going on campus. And also, just on another social media note, if you guys see that I post something on either the SGA Twitter or on our Instagram, if you could go like it, retweet it, share it to your story, all that kind of stuff, that would be great. Because obviously not a lot of people follow our social media. And whoever in the chat said Patriot Pantry, yes, come to my committee next week. We'll chat. So that is it for my committee reports. And I'm so excited to be seeing more people at committees.
All righty. Thank you, Jennifer. SGAC.
Okay, I also am so pumped about my attendance at committee this week. I had a whole 5 senators come, and I am so excited about that. 5 senators that, you know, not only showed up, but they were asking questions. They were coming up with great ideas. They were very involved, very knowledgeable. I mean, it was just really great. I couldn't be happier. So super excited, super thankful for that. We also had 3 orgs send in requests that we were approving, which is so cool. I got 2 of them approved right out the bat. So that's already like a total of about $600 that is directly going back to students, which is like really exciting, really great. And then the 3rd one, we're working on some things, but eventually I see them getting approved, no problem, which is going to be another $300-ish back to students, which is so great. I was, the follow-up process, especially with that last one that we're having to tweak stuff, has been a little bit time consuming, just in the sense that you gotta kind of work around everything that's given, but it's the events that I approved are really exciting. There was one really great opportunity where there's gonna be a speaker coming, and normally she charges like $2,000 and she's coming for only $300. So it's like big, really cool stuff that we're able to get going. And then we've also been working hard to make sure that all these events are going in with within like COVID regulations, with or without the in-person restrictions. So, you know, doing backup plans for online events versus in-person events that are originally planned to be in person. When food's being handed out, make sure it's being all that like distributed properly and safely. And so, yeah, I mean, it was super successful. It was like our first very official and productive meeting. It's a little late in the semester, but I'm still really excited that we were able to get kind of a running start and all that and make up for some lost time. So yeah, super happy about this week. We're doing really good. If future weeks follow like this, it's going to be a really good semester.
Thank you, Cameron. And moving on, I'm going to say it out loud, Chief of Staff Ray and the Rules Committee.
Okay, so was there anybody that wasn't or didn't get my email? I think there might actually be a couple. So if you didn't, then just mention in the chat. Okay, so if anybody didn't get it then and they mention it in the chat, then I'll send it again to those extras. Basically, it was just the 3 rules documents. Okay, so I see quite a few people didn't, and I can see some of those names actually were on the list. Did anyone get it?
I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
I got it.
I got it.
Okay. So I'll double check. If you're sure you didn't get it and you comment on the chat, I'll resend it just to make sure. Basically, it was the 3 rules documents that we're going to be using during this semester. So one is the very long rules. I don't expect everybody to read every drop of it, but I would suggest it. It is useful. And most importantly is to look at your specific role, because as a senator or an officer or a justice, each one of those roles has different specifics. So just making sure that there's not something you're missing along the way that somebody didn't tell you, you'll be able to see it there. And then the House rules, I would suggest reading every word of that. Again, it's only 2 pages. You should be able to read it 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you really take your time. And then the last document that I gave was the shortcuts, basically, for the rules, so that anytime we're using those during making major decisions, we'll be able to just double check on those real quick rather than having to scroll and look all through the rules. So did anyone have any questions regarding the House rules?
I just wanted to add to that. I went to Rules Committee this week, and Robert and I were talking about the documents and everything. The quick reference guide, I know that the entire Constitution and bylaws might be a little bit lengthy for an afternoon read, but the quick reference guide's like 3/4 of a page, and it is super duper handy on figuring out how we vote for things and why we do it the way we do it. So if you do have a second to look at that, I would highly recommend it because it definitely cleared a bunch up for me.
Yes, and I appreciate you coming to committee this week. I actually you can see that some of the things you mentioned, I actually put into play with even with the attendance stuff. So we had talked about some of that, and Cameron actually gave me quite a bit of help as well on some of those things. So thank you to both of y'all. So if there's not any questions on the House rules, they're pretty self-explanatory. So as long as there's not any questions and everybody seems like they feel like they understand it, I would assume most do. So there are just a few people that are coming in new. So as they come in new, they may need to review those.
Robert, is there
And
a
let me
way,
know, again, I see some people in the comments. I'll double check on.
is there a way for the senators that didn't get the email to like send you the correct email in case it's an error on our side?
So I use the official ones from Engage, so I can double check them, but it might just, maybe they just didn't notice it. So I'll double check. It should be coming from my personal email, which is my jray@uttyler.edu. So I'll double check. If anybody doesn't get it by the end of the meeting, then re-mention it to me so we can sort it out. Or if your email is something extremely unusual that doesn't match what would normally be on your student account, that'd be another case as well. I think actually Luke Forrest, I want to say I had your email wrong, so you're definitely one that didn't get it, I would assume. So I'll make sure and get that fixed.
All right, Robert, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All righty. So moving on to the College of Arts and Sciences. We'll just go ahead and start. We'll do it this direction. Typically, I'd have a room and I could go down in some order. But to start off, we'll start with Senator Lamberti, Senator Nepal, and then Senator Forrest.
Thanks, Josh. I have like a whole list of here, so I just me so I can get all out of the way. First of all, I'm quarantining. I have been attacked microbially. I know there's a couple of classes that been canceled in person through the College of Arts and Sciences. Like I know that at least one or two of the math classes is transitioned from in-person to online completely. And I know that some of the chemistry classes were canceled this week in person. So it's, I don't know if it's like around the wall kind of thing. But yeah, definitely interesting couple of weeks. Just wanted to say also that Constitution Day was fun. I went out and sat at the table and didn't have the hat, but you know, it was all really fun. Had people come out and a couple senators stopped by, so that did. Yeah, I also kind of wanted to mention the committee that Senator Long mentioned that she was on. I'm also participating in that, so it's going to be super exciting to see that whole process, kind of behind the scenes, quote unquote. But also, like Senator Stavanoff said, I'm going to be helping with the counseling center page. I think that'll be interesting, very useful for students. But like Senator Long said, I was involved with one of the like committee, one of the organization proposals for the SGAC, and it's the art department that's going to be doing it, and it's the artist, her name is Bailey Liu, and I negotiated her really high speaking costs down from $2,000 because that was just not happen. But I think it'll be really exciting. As of right now, it's set for October 16th, but that's most likely going to be. So that'll be really
super fun and interesting. And I'm working getting an SMU law professor to come and hopefully give a presentation. Dr. Beverly Duris. So that will also be hopefully really interesting for the pre-law like portion of CAS. So I think that was it for me.
Alrighty, thank you. Moving on to Senator Nepal.
Hello, everyone. Like Claire, I have also been in quarantine for 2 weeks. So I haven't really gotten a chance to talk to students, but as a student myself, one thing that I'd like to mention is that the professors have been really good with holding online classes and to help us move to the online classes and to record the classes so that we can watch it anytime we want. Other than that, I start going back to school starting tomorrow. So what I'm planning to do is I want to, because I have a feeling that College of Arts and Sciences is not really putting the sanitizing towels in the classrooms. So if that is the case, I'm planning on going to the dean's office and talking about that. And that's pretty much what I have to report. Thank you.
Sorry, I was checking if I was muted, and I'm not. So thank you, Arpana. And then last but not least, Senator Forrest.
Not too much to report. There was a career fair that was held virtually, but I had class, so I was not able to go. And then just with COVID, there's not too much to do. I mean, obviously there's concerns with just safety, as Senator Nepal said, with the wipes in the classrooms and masks and stuff. I think definitely we could be doing a better job with the mask. I know we mentioned it a couple times last week. I just don't see enough people wearing masks when they should. So that's basically all I have to say about that. So thanks.
Thank you. And I think something that if you guys start to consider it, and I've been asked by multiple people, specifically Josh Reneves, who is here with us in this meeting, think of ways to get students to take part in wearing masks. It seemed like the first 2 weeks, I was really optimistic. Students were very on top of it, but it seems like it's kind of deteriorated. And while you guys, I don't know if you guys would say that that's the same, is that the same experience you guys are having? But think of different ways. We can be like, wow, this is a cool thing. I know one thing is take a picture, hashtag be like swoop. Not only do you get something cool, but it's also, the important part is that whether or not thought of mind on the actual cases are, it's about making other people in your classrooms and stuff feel comfortable, people in the UC feeling comfortable, and it is for the safety of other people. So with that being said, we'll move on to the Souls College of Business. That's who I have marked down. We'll start with Senator Jennings and then to Senator Rodriguez, if that is okay.
Absolutely. Okay, so I have been very busy. First of all, I work about 40 hours a week, and I'm in 16 hours of accounting classes this semester. So I'm kind of getting my butt kicked, but that's okay. Today was day 1 of 2 of Meet the Firms, which I'm sure you guys aren't familiar with, but that's something that the accounting program does. This is the 9th year. They bring in a ton of various CPA firms, CPA exam prep institutions, stuff like that, and it's just a 3-hour, it was 3 hours today and 3 hours tomorrow of just having an opportunity to speak with these people, build interview skills, hear about opportunities, etc. So that was really amazing. Not to say that I don't think that UT Tyler does a great job of supporting the students, but this is just a prime example. I've never experienced something more supportive, I suppose. The amount of tangible one-on-one conversation I had with huge CPA firms in Dallas was amazing. And even though I don't necessarily want to be a CPA with my accounting degree, they were still willing to talk to me and give me that experience, as well as let me know about some other opportunities that other students may not be interested in. So kudos to the College of Business and Dr. Willis and Dr. Lyerly for putting that on. It was amazing. So other than that, classes are going well. I had spoken last time about how I was concerned about how tests would work. Seemed to work okay. There was minimal like passing of physical documents or anything. A lot of my professors have started doing attendance through a QR code and stuff like that. So I've been impressed with that. The only downside that I've seen is, again, the mask wearing. It makes me kind of concerned, being that I do work so much. If I had to be out in quarantine, it would be a significant economic impact. So I would be interested to hear you guys' ideas on how to make that better as well.
Yes, I think that's a tough question. It's like, it's really just the thought of one individual can, and certainly has shown that it can make it worse. And what can we do that it's like, it's not about one specific person. It's just about a lot of people that are wanting to be like Swoop together. Be like Swoop. Swoop, swoop. With that, moving on to Senator Rodriguez.
Sure thing. So I don't have much to report on, except for the fact that, well, when it comes to the students that I've talked to with, they've, expressed, their concern for like the rise of cases. And so even some students who decided to have in-person classes, they still decided, to switch online, at least for the time being, in order to like limit exposure and such. And so that takes care of that. And when it comes to the Souls Ambassadors, we're going to meet up this week to discuss things like recruiting, campus activities. Of course, now that, they've been postponed or canceled altogether, we're realizing how we're going to move together as a group and how we're going to reach out to students. And especially now with SGA taking this sort of new approach and adapting to the changes in the environment. My goal is to just reach out to more students and to get their insights and their inputs, especially with organizations that sort of like meet up in the College of Business, like FMA or the Hispanic Student Association, and sort of get their input and see where they want to move in the future despite the current environment. So yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Senator Rodriguez. I wanted to ask before we move any further, specifically from these two colleges, have you guys, as a group of senators, reached out to your dean or head of constituencies to schedule a meeting for this semester?
Not that I know of, no. Well,
I've attempted. There's some confusion. Like there was a virtual meeting that was going to take place, and then it was like, well, it's been pushed back. So it was like right around the time that the 2-week freeze, I guess, on extracurricular stuff happening, and I guess that they thought that counted, which I was not really sure. But yeah, so I'm definitely going to be doing my faculty and asking and pestering some more, so that way I can go in and talk to them. But
okay, well, I would say, and I know several of you guys are very busy, as are these people, especially if you're speaking with the dean. What I recommend is, if one of you is to reach out, copy the other two senators, their emails or their contact onto the email that you're sending out. Emailing is the best way to reach out to these people, because I'm sure they use, as I do and as Josh does, they use Outlook calendar to schedule their things. And if you reach out to them through there, you can schedule Zoom and things through there very easily. That's my recommendation. But you guys I think it's necessary that you guys meet together. For one, they don't have 3 different meetings going on. And just because you can have your ideas concise. I do have to say, if you guys, Senator Jennings and Senator Rodriguez, obviously you guys are both very busy, as I know Dr. Swinburge is as well. If you guys need a little bit of extra push, and this is for anybody, let me know, and I think we can help get those. There's a cat, so and I saw the cat over there in Hannah's. Anyways, you guys let me know. You guys reach out to him first, and if we need to step in and not so much to say Dr. Swinberg have a meeting or anybody else's dean. I say that for everyone else who is a part of this as well. If you guys need help scheduling those meetings, please let me know. But it would be nice to have reports and minutes from those soon, and maybe even another one towards the end of the semester with those people. It would, I think it would give you guys a lot of insight into some parts of the colleges that you're part of that you're not used to seeing from the very student side. There is a lot that these people are doing, and I know that these deans care very much about students and what you guys are talking about, and I'm sure they would love to be able to come in here to every Wednesday like this meeting and hear about what we're talking about, and that would be an opportunity to tell them some of that. So with that being said, we'll move right on to old business. I would like to note what it says on the agenda, though. Next week, I can't see my agenda at this moment, so that's on me. College of Engineering and Fish College of Pharmacy will be reporting as these two colleges did next week. So please prepare for that, guys. If you guys need a little bit of pointers, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. With that, does anybody have anything for old business to bring up? Okay, I don't think I'm seeing any. So moving on to the two scheduled appointments we have for today's meeting. We'll start with the first one I have on the list. The first one is Audrey Hansen, and she wants to go for the appointment on one of the open Fish College of Pharmacy seats. So with that, Audrey, I would like to give you the floor, and you are free. Speak as you will. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find you. Oh, there you are. You go ahead.
Hi, yes, so as Josh said, my name's Audrey. I actually graduated from UTSA with a bachelor's in biology, and now I'm at the Fish School of Pharmacy. With the pharmacy school on campus, there is very limited amount of organizations, and SGA just seemed like the perfect organization to be a part of that. I was able to branch out its variety, not stuck with the few options we have, but at the same time, it's still relevant to my school, to the pharmacy school. So I don't have any experience in any government position or organization positions, but I am really excited to hopefully be a part of this.
Alrighty, and so does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Henson?
I may or may not have missed your very first sentence of your introduction. Did you say what level of pharmacy you are currently?
Oh, okay. So I am a first-year pharmacy student.
Okay, got you. Thank you. That was the only question that I had because I was just concerned or curious about that.
Alrighty, does anybody have any other questions? All right, I'm not seeing or hearing any, so I'm not sure how this works. I know that we got her moved into the waiting room last time. Oh, you already did it. That was fast. That's always it's almost scary. It's like they just pop away. So I guess now we'll open up discussion. Anybody who has anything to add to or for, against anything before we move to vote. Does anybody have anything to add to discuss her appointment to College of Pharmacy?
Do we have any filled seats in the College of Pharmacy right now?
Yes, we do. Senator Wingate is a student in the College of Pharmacy.
Okay. I know those seats are hard to fill since most College of Pharmacy students are very busy. So it would definitely be nice to have another senator from that college.
Yeah, I started to tell her we're not asking questions, but it's not because we're not interested. We're just happy to have somebody from pharmacy.
That's very right, actually. That's a good point. So I don't know if there's much more to discuss, so I guess I can entertain a motion to vote on the appointment of Audrey Hanson to the College of Pharmacy.
Motion to vote on the appointment of Audrey Hanson for the College of Pharmacy.
Motion seconded.
All right, it was motion and second. Bam! That's like magic. So I'm not a voting member myself, so I shouldn't.
You can just abstain, Josh.
Yeah, it's not giving me an option to select one, though.
Oh, yeah, because me and you are hosts, and Jennifer.
So I don't know, there might be one other person missing, but if you're not a sitting member currently, then you'd select not a voting member. So that could either be Mrs. Mary Fuller and Joshua Neves. You may both have to select that.
I selected not a voting member.
Okay. Okay, well, I don't, okay.
Okay, so I'm
Awesome.
curious. Jennifer, can you see what I was seeing there?
Yes, that there's 19 out of 21 that voted yay, 1 abstention, and 1 not a voting member.
Okay, so that's good then. So I guess if we can get her back into this room, we will do that, and then we'll, awesome. So congratulations, Audrey. You were appointed to that open position in the College of Pharmacy. And so we would normally do a swearing process, and we will do that. However, we do have another student who is here to be appointed, and we'll go ahead and do that at the same time to conserve a little bit of time, if that's all right. So with that, we'll move on to the appointment, as you guys see, of Mrs. Mary Fuller, who is going to be being appointed to a student body at large position. So, Ms. Fuller, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. My name is Mary. My major is political science / government on the pre-law track. I'm running for the student body at large position. I believe I'm a great fit for this position because I'm a CAP student and I also live off campus. Those are like 2 sort of minority groups at UT Tyler. So I would be able to successfully represent these 2 groups the best since both factors apply to me. I was a leader for my NJHS group in high school, so I have some sort of leadership experience. I really hope to address any issues the student body has with policy and promote a wonderful college experience for the UT Tyler student. Thank you for your time.
Awesome, thank you. And so does anyone have any questions for Ms. Fuller? Well, seeing none, I do have to say, I'll just say something very fast. And I don't mean to correct you, and this isn't meant to be implied, so I hope not to be. But we actually have a very large group of off-campus students here at UT Tyler, and actually only about 2,000 of our students live on campus, while we do have 7,000 who come to campus typically to go to class. So while that's, I don't mean to downplay what you had said, but it is a big, hefty task, and you'll actually be right at home, and I think you would do a fantastic job. I don't have any doubt about that. But just to let you know, there are many students who you would probably be talking to on a regular basis who don't live on campus. Many of the students actually are part of student government, so you'll have plenty of resources.
Thank you.
So does anybody have any more questions? And if not, we'll go ahead and, oh, yeah, Senator Botter.
I don't know whether you mentioned this or not. Are you taking only online courses, or are you coming on the campus for in person?
I have one calculus, one class in person, but he gives us the option to Zoom or go in person for that one. So I just come in like once or twice a week for that class.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty, so any more? And if not, we'll go ahead and move her into the waiting room. So does anybody have any comments to add? All right, I don't think I'm seeing any, so we'll move right along to.
I do. You asked me. I do have the oath ready whenever they're both
Okay.
ready. I'll throw it on the screen as soon as they're ready.
All right, thanks, sir. Okay, so I guess I entertain a motion to vote for the appointment of Mary Fuller to a student body at large senator position.
Motion the vote on the appointment of Mary Fuller to senator for student body at large.
Motion seconded.
All right, and then it's gonna be like, I'm gonna go like this, and it's gonna pop up the voting. Bam! Chow. So everybody, if you are not a voting member, or sworn in yet, I think we're gonna have one who, I don't know who that is. Oh, wow.
I got it though.
Okay, got it all. Awesome. So with that, we'll go ahead and call Mrs. Fuller back in, and then I'll switch screens. I'll cancel my share, Robert, so you can get your yours up there. Well, congratulations, Mary. You have also been voted and appointed to the position of student body at large. So we'll get this down. Our very Zoomed experience of being sworn into the student government. I apologize if this is weird anyway. This is just what we found to work. So what will happen is, if you guys don't mind to keep the relay of voices between you two, not from cutting into one another and confusing any of us, if you just keep your camera on. And what we have done, and I guess it's worked, is you'll read it, and then I'll just continue after I realize that you guys have said the certain part of the section. But insert your name is obviously insert your first and last name, and then the Center for the College of Pharmacy or Center for the Student Body at Large there where there's an underscore. So raise your right hand and then repeat after me. After I see that you guys have said it, even though it will be silent, or then we'll move on. Or I guess, yeah, Mary, if that's okay, you can keep yours on, and that way, after you guys have both seen it, then I see that you guys have said it, then we'll move on. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. So I insert your name. Do solemnly swear that I shall faithfully represent the interests of the student body of the University of Texas at Tyler. I shall dutifully uphold and preserve the Constitution and bylaws of the Student Government Association, while ardently executing the office of Senator for the insert the position you are. For the student body at the University of Texas at Tyler. Awesome, yay, we could do the emoji claps or something. I'm sorry, I don't know, we'll certainly try that differently or consider that. Doesn't get much less weird anytime I do it, so I apologize, I didn't mean to make that incoherent, but so thank you guys, we're happy to have you guys here. The only thing I'll request is to fill you guys in, if you guys look on the agenda in the section that has the times for committee meetings, if you guys could look at those committee meetings and pick out one that applies to you, that you could fit into your schedule, please let me know. And the earlier you guys can get that to me, the earlier you guys can get a Zoom link from one of the 4 officers, and then you guys can participate in one of those meetings next week. If it's really to the point where you can't fit any one of those meetings in, please let me know, just so we don't have an empty spot and I can fill you in on my roster. Other than that, thank you guys. And let me move this around and I'll ask, does anybody have anything to add to new business? Anybody?
I do have something I was just going to mention to those two. I think I have your email just from searching, but I'm going to be sending out that rules email. So if you would just make sure you got it, I'm going to send it out shortly because I'm sending it to a few of the other people. I'm going to go ahead and include y'all too as well.
Look at Cameron, she's marketing SGAC right there. She's already she's one step ahead of us. The only other thing, I'll check those emails right now, or you know what, I won't, you guys send me your emails so I can make sure we have the right one, if that's okay. Senator Fuller and Senator Hansen. I think I do have the right one, but so we don't have to worry about playing tag on emails. To answer your question, Adam, Senator Watkins, the way you decide is just the committee that are listed on this agenda. Just figure out which one is the best fit for you. Currently, I think I have you down to serve on the student life, but if that's not a time that works, just message me really quick and I can get you in the time that works best for you. With that, does anybody have anything else to add to new business before we move on? Alrighty, so I don't think there is any. We'll move on to Master Jedi, not imposter, Neves. He's not an imposter, guys. He's been playing the Among Us game, but he's not the imposter here. I promise.
It depends. Well, I think I'm excited to hear about the Fish College of Pharmacy positions filling up. I know even the faculty members have been helping us try to fill those seats for some time. And so it's really exciting to see that almost every senator spot in the academic colleges are almost full. It won't be long before housing's full. And I think it's a matter of time before the at-large seats are filled. So you are getting really close to the goal that I've set forth for the e-board. And so I'm really proud of y'all for doing that, given these unique times that we're in of having to do these meetings virtually. And so I think it's definitely going to be different once we are able to do things in person. I was kind of surprised I didn't ask as many questions for our guest speakers as I anticipated. It sounded like a couple of weeks ago y'all had a lot of concerns, especially for the Title IX stuff. So it sounds like maybe he was able to address a lot of those concerns, which is good if that's the case. Always try to think of areas when you're hearing from the guest speakers on what questions you could be asking, because this is your time to learn more about the institution and then get the information back to the students so that way they are better informed about the resources and what's happening at campus. And then last, well, two more things. Second and last thing is Josh mentioned it, and many of the officers did too, but really try to, post the Be Like Swoop. You can post a picture of you wearing your mask, you socially distance with friends, or if there's something that you think would qualify as a good, healthy choice, then definitely post that. Use the hashtag Be Like Swoop and tag us. And if you do that, then you will be eligible to win some swag. And so if you do it every day, you can only get up to 5 entries a week. And then I will draw and select winners at the beginning of the week so that way you can win prizes. So definitely try to take advantage of that. I've got a lot of swag to give away, and I'd like to get it out of my office as quickly as possible. And then the last thing was just to touch on the event. Y'all are correct. We are not able to do midnight breakfast, unfortunately. But I really do think that the idea we've come up with about Light the Tower is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's something that gives students something to do, to be able to hang outside, maybe have some hot cocoa. Hopefully it's a little chilly by then. Play some, tunes on the bell tower that y'all may not be used to, and then celebrate when we light up the tower. So something kind of similar to Light the Lake, but hopefully when things return to normal, this will be a tradition either for maybe the upperclassmen, since the freshmen have to Light the Lake, or maybe we can try to come up with traditions for each class, sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and so forth. So I'm really excited that y'all get to be a part of that, and hopefully it catches with students and it gives us something to do. And so in order for us to be able to have this event, we need to make sure that we continue to get these case numbers down. And so just encourage your peers to make sure that they're following the safety guidelines on campus and off campus. COVID doesn't care where you're at. So it's always interesting when I see students, on social media or Zoom, even Zoom meetings, where they're not following the social distancing guidelines off campus. So really try to help hold students accountable and make sure that we can get through this together. Other than that, I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Thank you, Josh. And Robert's exactly right in the chat. Fill out that form if you have not yet. It'll help make sure that you guys were tracked accurately here. But with that, unless anyone has anything else to throw out there really quick, I guess we are at the end of our meeting. Which
I did send out that email. So if those of you who didn't get it originally, as well as the 2 new members, if you could check and just see if you got it. I only sent it to the people that needed it, so it didn't go to everybody. So if somebody missed it, you can just reach out to me and I'll get it back to you.
If there isn't anything else, I'd like to motion to adjourn.
Motion seconded.
All right, those in favor? Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. That's just magic. Adjourn in progress.
Who said no? That's a first. The whole time I've been in SGA, no one's ever said no to adjourning.
All right, so that passes. And if you said no and you really do have something to say, let me know and we can hopefully get that worked out. But through that, you guys have a wonderful